I think, with TikTok, I see so many brands that do so well and they treat their TikTok channel as if like they're creators and they have personalities. And you always see this with like, like an ice cream store in, I don't know, Las Vegas. Like it'll be all these really small stores, but they are just so good at TikTok and connecting with their community. And I think they think about it in a way where it's like, how do we act like content creators and less so a brand? Like we don't have corporate messaging. We can be more fluid. We can be more reactive without like, scheduling out, I don't know, TikToks for a month. Like we're kind of trying to take that approach because I think that's just where video content's going to go.
Welcome to Female Founder World. I'm your host, Jasmine, and today I'm chatting with Fiona, the founder of Youthforia. Fiona, welcome to the show. And to kick us off, I always ask a guest to tell us in their own words about their mission with their company and also just give a couple of milestones that might help people understand where you are in your founder story and what stage the company is at.
So I started Youthforia about 4 months ago. We are a clean makeup company that makes makeup that you can sleep in. We test all of our formulas by sleeping in it. We're best known for BYO blush. It is the world's first color changing blush oil. And in terms of our business, I feel like we have really exploded on TikTok. It's been a really kind of a quick 4 months. We're now at, I think, like 40 million views on TikTok. So it kind of happened quite quickly for us.
Wow, that's crazy. That's 40 million views. That's more views than there are people in Australia, about double for reference. So that's massive. I want to dig into like so many parts of that story, particularly around TikTok. But first, could we just start like rewind a bit? You started the business 4 months ago. What were you doing before you launched Youthforia? And what was your path to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, prior to Youthforia, I was working at a tech company. It was a startup, and I was kind of like head of Asia partnerships. So that job led me to travel all around the world to these really remote locations where data centers are. And these cities, they are so polluted. I used to sleep at a five-star hotel with N95s because it was so polluted. And through that experience, I realized that my skin was just not reacting well to my normal products. Everything was just out of whack. So it made me really rethink the ingredients that I put on my face, as well as kind of the impact of, all of my activities, from the stuff that I buy, stuff that I eat. I started to care a lot more about how is this polluting other parts of the world, and how is it affecting my health. And for Euphoria, I kind of came about that idea like literally first week of the pandemic. I didn't expect to not be able to go out of my house or see anyone. And what really resonated for me was makeup is really about going out with your friends. It's that anticipation of I'm getting ready and I expect to have a good time with my friends. I don't know about you, but I am someone where if I'm having such a good time, I might come home and forget to wash my makeup off. So I really wanted makeup that you can sleep in, that, if you forgot to wash your makeup off, it wasn't going to do anything weird to your face. When I was younger, so many experiences of sleeping in my makeup and then going to the hospital with an allergic reaction. And I just couldn't really understand why in 2021 makeup had to be so bad for your skin, why I had to feel so guilty for those nights when I forgot to wash my makeup off. So I really wanted to kind of think of makeup in a kind of like a more of a skincare way, in a skin friendly way. And so all of our formulas are kind of formulated like a skincare product, which, for us, it wasn't the easiest thing to do. And of course, I wanted a really rigorous testing process. So I slept in everything, made my husband sleep in it with me too, kind of because he was kind of the only person that I could convince to do this with. But we both, we would wake up with better skin, and it completely changed the way I thought about how we could formulate, how we could kind of change the conversation around what makeup could be.
Okay, so you have this idea and you're feeling confident that this could be something. What were the next steps that you took to turn it into a real physical product and a business?
Yeah, I remember even the idea of like color changing blush. We made it like a green oil. I remember talking to our manufacturers and I was like, I think I just want this. Can you just make it happen? Here's all the characteristics that I want it to do. Here's how I'm going to test it. And it took several, versions of this to get it right. But, like we literally Googled manufacturers. We flew to Korea and we met with them. It was so much of this business is like Googling people and Googling how to do things.
That's definitely something that I hear as a common theme throughout all my conversations with founders when they go back to like their launch days and the early days of their company. It's just like, thank God for Google, that's where all the answers are. Okay, so I'm super interested in, you had such like an impactful launch on TikTok. And obviously you have a product that is inherently like viral and interesting in nature, but do you have any lessons from that experience that you think you can give other founders who are also thinking that social media will be, especially D2C founders who think social media will be kind of their main like launch marketing channel?
Yeah, for us, what I did was while we were even like looking at samples of all of our products, I looked at everything through a phone and I made video, like a lot of video content prior to launch to make sure how would this look on TikTok? How would this look on social? With TikTok specifically, you have like, let's say 7 to 15 seconds to really make a point. You kind of find out very soon what's going to resonate and what are the actual messaging points that your customers really care about. TikTok is nice in that you can test a lot and you'll know exactly what's driving home for customers, like what's really unique about your product.
Mm. We've had a conversation before about this, and I remember just like, I was like, tell me everything you know. You're one of those brands that has really just exploded on TikTok, and it's something that like I personally haven't mastered. And I'd love for you to explain to people like what, in terms of the consistency and the style of content that you're posting, like what works.
What I notice about TikTok is that every account is a little bit different. So if you're known for one style of content and it works for your account, you should keep posting that type of account. I think if you see another account, they always post something that's a very different content style. If you try to bring that over, it might not work for your account. So being consistent with your style works. Every time we try to go on a trend, it doesn't really work. And then the other thing is the algorithm is always changing. So the stuff that worked for us, 3 months ago, it might not work now. So it's just something where we're always aware of. I always like to try very out there ideas just to see if they'll stick. And sometimes they do stick. And then that becomes kind of like a content pillar for us until we have to retire it.
Amazing. How did you like learn this kind of these content skills? Was it something that you had in your job before you started your own company, or is it something that you again were Googling, or do you think like inherently as a social media user you just had a good kind of eye for content?
I did not learn this prior to this. I think it was just out of necessity. I think 2 weeks after launching the business, I was like, let's try TikTok. Did not know how to use the app at all. But I think when you browse TikTok enough, you kind of understand that there's like a cadence, there is a pacing to the content. So it's something where for me, I'll make sure like how snappy like my words are matches like the speed of your thumb scrolling. Little tricks like that. But inherently, I think it's a lot of trial and error.
Amazing. And this is switching gears a bit, but like compared to when you were working full time for someone else's business, how has your day changed now that you're running your own company? Like, what are some of the things that you're doing now that you never would have done before? And how are you kind of structuring your time?
I make a lot of content now.
Yeah.
And I did not know that this would be such a big part of the day, but it really is. And I think what I really like about working for myself is I don't need to get approvals for my crazy marketing ideas. I always like to like save 25% of my creativity for just something that's very non-obvious out there just to see if we can come up with something interesting. And I feel like if I was working for someone else, like I would always be so afraid to kind of pitch these crazy ideas.
Totally. Do you feel like there's still space for new brands to kind of launch and go viral or build a following on TikTok?
Definitely. I think TikTok algorithm, they really like when new brands or new creators go on, and it's very easy in the beginning and you kind of get into your groove.
Great. I want to kind of switch gears and talk about funding the business now. Have you been bootstrapped so far? Has the funding sources kind of changed as the business has grown? How are you thinking about that piece of things?
Yeah, we're self-funded. I think we will like to keep it that way for as long as possible. I think the idea of adding funding is just like another layer of complexity that we don't really quite need at the moment.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I always find it interesting. Different founders come from this from such different perspectives. Some people raise a lot of money before launch, whereas others want to get traction and kind of build out their brand before they even go down that route. Why do you think that being self-funded, what are the benefits of that?
I mean, I think I just really like being able to move and react to like kind of like the market forces as I see fit without having to, ask for approval, having a board. I don't know. I've never fundraised. So I don't know actually what that dynamic would be like, but it seems to, the way that we're doing things now seems to work well for us.
Yeah, cool. And what's your team looking like now? Who are you kind of like working with on a daily basis? Do you have people full time in your team? Are you working with contractors? What's kind of the setup?
Yeah, it's still a very small team. We have someone that helps on ops full time, and then we have two people on marketing, social influencer, just kind of like the loose term of marketing. I mean, it's a really small but mighty team. I always like look back and I am, in all of what the small team has accomplished. And in terms of expanding the team, it's not something that I've thought about, but the way we kind of operate is one day I will be like, it's time to expand the team, and then we'll make it happen within a couple of weeks.
Okay. I've seen that you guys are doing quite a lot in like the partnership space. I think, is it Susto? Did you just do something with Susto, like
Oh
a
yeah,
product
yeah, we
partnership?
did.
Yeah. I mean, I love them. Kaylee's awesome. Where do you think the benefit is in like brand partnership, and how do you guys think about that as part of your kind of like overall marketing approach?
We just really like chatting with brand founders that have like a really interesting story. There's been so many like just brands that I think we should share with our audience. And, for us, it's just like something that we find really fun. A lot of brands that we partner with will find an alignment with either how we started or our philosophy and formulation or sustainability. And it's kind of cool to cross our audiences.
Yeah. What kind of like, for people who maybe don't come from a marketing background, what kind of things are you guys doing in the brand partnership space that you think are working? Are you doing like product collaborations, social media partnerships? What kind of stuff?
Yeah, we're actually really experimenting. We're not finding as much success with just a pure like Instagram giveaway. So we'll always try to add it to content. We haven't done every type of content partnership yet, but what I'm really excited to do is how do we bring this over to TikTok or to Reels, something that isn't just like a static post.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. So just trying to work out like how you can incorporate it into video.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like we'll do lives with founders. That's been really fun. Like you will find that there's a lot of alignment when you kind of chat with founders for an extended period of time, and it's a more interesting way to storytell than just like, hey, we have a giveaway.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like people forget that fundamentally people are following people on social. It's not just about, they're not following brands. So actually having like a founder who is the face and a founder who is the center of their kind of community is such a great and easy marketing tool that I don't think every brand is really like tapping into enough.
Yeah, I mean, I actually really think that this is going to be a much bigger thing. Knowing the personalities behind brands, and it's great when founders are willing to get on and chat with, the customer's audience.
Yeah. And then the other question that I love to ask everyone before we wrap up is just for some resources that have helped you. I mean, you guys have been on a whirlwind over the last 4 months. How have you been, apart from Google, like what books, podcasts, communities, where are you going to kind of find out what the next step should be in your business and to find the answers that just aren't available on Google?
I like to look at different industries or different verticals to try to get inspiration. I think, going into 2021, 2022, it's not going to be like we're just going to fund Facebook ads. I don't think that's really the answer anymore. So right now I'm looking at what are creators doing. I'm really into this idea of like brand as creator. So I like most of my resources are actually around like creator podcasts. Like I really like Colin and Samir's podcast. Logan Paul's editor has a YouTube channel where he talks about editing cadence, like very, very content specific. That's been the most useful.
Interesting. Can you dig a little bit more into what you mean by brands as creators?
Yeah, I think, with TikTok, I see so many brands that do so well and they treat their TikTok channel as if like they're creators and they have personalities. And you always see this with like, like an ice cream store in, I don't know, Las Vegas. Like it'll be all these really small stores, but they are just so good at TikTok and connecting with their community. And I think they think about it in a way where it's like, how do we act like content creators and less so a brand? Like we don't have corporate messaging. We can be more fluid. We can be more reactive without like, scheduling out, I don't know, TikToks for a month. Like we're kind of trying to take that approach because I think that's just where video content's going to go.
I agree with you on that. Can you recommend any like tools that you use for editing or maybe keeping on top of trends, planning social, like anything that you can recommend that people should check out?
I absolutely love Figma for any graphic design, like static post, email design. It is something where our entire team picked it up in a couple of hours and it has been like the biggest time save collaborative tool. We absolutely love it. In terms of video editing, I do this in TikTok like natively. I'm sure that there are like other editing apps, but just for my workflow, I just really enjoy doing it in TikTok.
Are you guys working to like a content calendar or is it more intuitive based on what's happening in the moment when you're planning out your content on social?
TikTok is basically morning of I will decide to make content and there's no plan. Just because I'll look at like what happened in the last 2, 3 days and make a guts call on, okay, I think this is where our content needs to go. Sometimes we'll do reactive things. Like we just did a series that was, Met Gala looks because it was really relevant and content like that. I mean, it performs well if you do it within like 12 hours.
Okay. I feel like there's so much opportunity for people just to look through even what the best performing content has been and even evergreen content on these big publishers who aren't translating it very well into video and into TikTok. And there's this whole world of content ideas already out there for you, just ready to be adapted to video, that I feel like more people should really be tapping into that.
Yeah, and especially if like the content is like 7 seconds, you can like talk about just one thing like 20 different times because it's 7 seconds isn't a ton of time.
Yeah, totally. Well, Fiona, thank you so much for coming on the show. So fun to hear about everything that you guys are doing and all the traction that you've already received in 4 months. That is absolutely wild. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Jumping back in to say thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the pod, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks.